In this video, I'm going to show you the secret of the parking brake in the classic models BMWs. You can speak from the E28, E30 and up to the E38 and the E39, E46. This is very important because this is the main debate in the forums, in the workshops, every place, that when I adjust the cables of the parking brake, right or left, which orientation I should guide the adjusting screw in the parking brake, up or down, left or right, left wheel, right wheel, up or down. This is according to the service manual itself. If you follow the instructions in this video, the orientation of the cable holder and the adjusting screw, you will find it very easy, same on the right or left. If you adjust the adjusting screw from down to up, it will tighten the wheel itself. From up to down, it will make it loose, and this will delete all the agony and the very effortless to decide this wheel is up or down. You can buy those parts, but for me it was expensive, so I decided to clean and refurbish the parts and lubricate it. Those are the part numbers, just in case you needed those. I will leave them in the description also. We'll start lubricating all the moving parts of the cable holder and the adjusting screw. Make sure when you assemble the adjusting screw and the cable holder that it's the same as I put it here, that the adjusting screw, big notch, and the movable part from the cable holder aligned toward the front of the car. Also make sure that the adjusting screw is free to move, either by closure or by opening, that it's not stuck. Here is the spring inside the cable holder. I put it inside those holes using a flat screwdriver. Make sure that it's steady in its place, and this part will go toward the end of the car, the back of the car, while the front one here, this part goes to the front of the car. Same with the adjusting screw. Those are the part numbers for the brake itself. I use the Mealy company. You can use whatever you want. This is flat screwdriver. I use it to adjust the upper very tough spring later. We will need also plier and hex 5 or hex 6 according to the company you buy the brake from. Those are for the retaining screws. You will see it when I assemble the parking brake. I use it because the upper spring is very tough and dangerous, so it will make it very easy for me not to damage anything and not to hurt myself later. Now is the orientation. This is the picture from the Bentley. You can see what I said, that those parts go toward the front of the car, as you can see it here. This is the front of the car. The small spring goes down. The flat part of the brake goes with the adjusting screw, while the notched part goes with the upper one with the clip holder. I will use anti-squeak paste to lubricate any moving part in this brake, because it will be covered later and I'm not gonna use or even access it later. So although I have to put the paste over it, make sure that I don't put any paste on the brake itself. You can see here I just put it where the parts I'm gonna install will be there. Here I'll start putting the parts. Notice the orientation. The tooth should be toward the front of the car as the movable part of the cable holder. On the flat part of the parking brake, the upper notched part will be the cable holder. Later we'll put it on the car. I put the lower spring. I'll use a plier to put it there. Just push it in place, and now it's ready to be assembled on the car. After we put the cable holder, you can see it's stable in its place. Now this is the cable holder. This is the cable, the parking brake cable itself. make sure that everything is and free. I put this is because I already changed the suspension. I'm going to change the drum. This is the caoutchouc, the rubber window covering the cable itself. Just put it in place. This is the mud cover. I'm gonna fix it with the number 10 screws, normal screws. Just make sure that you use the really thin instruments because the space here is not that much. As you can see, I just fix it. Lubricate everything with any liquid, not necessarily the DW40, but I use it here. Because those parts are gonna be covered, so you can see the rust I have already. I clean it, but this is what I can do. Now the cable holder, it just fit in the teeth where this moving part, just latch it like this, just latch against the cable itself, and you can leave it. If it drops, it's not a big deal. You can fit it because it will be fixed eventually with the parking brake, but this is how it fits. I just make it just to show how it fits on the cable before I put the brake parts. Now going back to the cabin, we release the handbrake lever a couple of times to make sure that everything is slack, the cables are slack, they are relaxed, no tension. We uncover the boot by the upper retaining clip, and we have 2 in the up and 1 retaining clip from downside. We have the retaining nut and the adjusting nut. The adjusting nut is 12mm and the retaining one is 9 or 10, depends on the manufacturer. So release them both. In this way we know that the cables are free, slack, there's no tension. I use the deep sockets, make it much easier than the ring spanners. So easy to undo them, and you can just make sure that the lever move freely also. So we can now go to our parking brake. So in this way we know that the parking brake cable is free. So again, with the orientation, as you can see, make sure that you orient the cable holder edges and the tooth of the adjusting screw toward the front of the car. This is the back wheel, so by default the front of the car is on the right side. Fix the cable adjuster on the edges of the parking brake. Now I have to fix it with the retaining screws, each on one side. It's just fixed by a spring, so just push it inside in the hole and move it right or left, doesn't matter, it will lock by itself. Same on the other side. As you can see, it's locked in place. Now just make sure that the whole brake is sitting in its place. You can see that it moved. Yes, you saw that it moved. And this is very important because if the cables, as you saw in the lever, if the cables are not loose, it won't fit even the disc later. So now the part of the upper spring itself, make sure you put it beneath, you don't put it up. Fix it in the first hole beneath the parts, and then with the flat screwdriver that I show you here, just push it until it gets into the other place and push it inside, and in this way you will have the parking brake fixed and done. Make sure again that it's sitting in its place steady, and we already made sure that the cables are free. Again, I test the cables that it's free, nothing is locking. if the disc here, here we use the brake part cleaner to clean any paste or grease on the parking brake pads. Now the new disc, you can put the old disc but after cleaning it also, but this new disc, there's the industrial grease over it. It's part of the milling process of making the disc itself. Also with the brake part cleaner, I clean it good, especially also from inside on the surfaces that we're going to put against the parking brake itself. You can see the dirt and the grease. Now the disc locking screw, make sure that you put also any type of grease. I put the anti-squeeze grease here because you don't want this screw to be jammed ever. Put the disc. If the disc goes okay, it's okay. If it doesn't, it means the cables are not slack. So make sure that the cables are slack as I showed you before. Make sure the disc is in place and just screw this retaining screw in its place. The torque is 15, or I don't remember, it's very, very low torque, so it's enough by hand. Don't use any wrench to over torque it, just like that. And in this way, I will clean it, make sure that there's no grease over it, and we conclude installing the parking brake. Now for the parking brake and the brake itself greasing process, I just show you the brakes over the disc. I'm gonna make it in separate videos, the mistakes, where to grease and which grease to use, common mistakes from the service also. I'm gonna put it in separate video, as well as the cable adjustment for the parking brake. In this way I conclude the parking brake parts assembly, orientation, and the secrets of the orientation. Hope you find it useful. See you in other videos, and for the meantime, bye bye.